the spectacle is always dazzling. We look at a scene like this, the flashing lights promising a revolution, the sheer extravaganza of the pitch, and we think we know what we're seeing. This is the promise of the ultimate experience, the perfect life, the next big thing. Charismatic founders step onto pedestals backed by sophisticated technology. They don't sell products, they sell concepts so vast they heal all. They project visions of miracles, using advanced displays to make fantasy look like proprietary technology. The promises are so seductive, the language so grand, the age of wonders, that skepticism is drowned out by the desperate need to believe that this miracle is finally real. This is where the illusion becomes an investment. This is how tech founders sell revolutionary concepts. Concepts that, they promise, can achieve things like testing blood for every known disease with just a single drop. And the world responds. It throws its resources, its trust, and its fortunes into the great hype machine. The energy is frantic. Everyone wants a piece before it disappears. But look where the money goes. It flows down the duct, not into research or logistics, but directly into smoke and mirrors. Thousands upon thousands of people throw their hard-earned money in, and the machine processes it all to produce exactly nothing. This is the inevitable aftermath. This is the symptom of the Internet age. The paradise promised at the carnival, Q1, looks like this in the daylight of reality. The miracle tech gadgets, Q2, that were supposed to revolutionize our world, are just shattered glass and empty plastic, littering a landscape of abandoned promises. It's a feedback loop that thrives on amplifying the illusion. In the end, the machine doesn't produce anything real. What it does produce, with perfect efficiency, is a relentless stream of filtered images, polished posts that amplify the next illusion, ensuring that the cycle of hype and consumption never ends. This is what we've invented. This is the modern hype machine scam. But in 1822, a Scottish military officer named Gregor MacGregor pulled off a fraud so monumental, so utterly psychotic, it makes modern scammers look like absolute amateurs. He didn't fake a product. He didn't fake a company. He invented an entire country. He called it Poyais. He claimed it was a tropical paradise in Central America, rich with gold, fertile soil, and a bustling capital city. He printed its money, wrote its constitution, sold its land to London's ultra-wealthy, and even convinced hundreds of regular families to board ships to move there. But when those ships arrived across the Atlantic, they didn't find a paradise. They found a death trap. This is the insane story of the Poyais land scam, the greatest historical heist you've never heard of. To understand how this worked, you have to understand the vibe of London in 1821. The Spanish Empire was collapsing, South American colonies were declaring independence, and British investors were desperate to pour money into the new world. Everyone wanted to get rich quick. He wasn't a nobody. He was a legitimate general who had fought alongside Simón Bolívar in South America. But he was also a pathological liar and a bankrupt social climber. When he returned to London, he didn't just want to be a veteran. He wanted to be royalty. He began telling London high society that a native king in Honduras had granted him a massive sovereign territory called Poyais. He claimed he was now the cacique, the prince of this territory. And then he began the most elaborate piece of world-building in human history. MacGregor didn't just tell people about Poyais, he proved it. He wrote a 350-page guidebook under a fake name, detailing the country's geography, its democratic government, and rivers literally lined with gold. He hired musicians to play Poyaisian national anthems in London pubs. He designed a national flag and a coat of arms, And most importantly, he opened a government banking office in the heart of London. He began printing Poyasian dollars. He actually convinced wealthy Londoners to give him real British pounds in exchange for beautiful but entirely worthless Poyas banknotes. He raised a massive loan of £200,000, which is worth roughly $30 million today. But MacGregor didn't stop at stealing from the rich. He targeted working-class families who wanted a better life. He began selling land plots in Poyas for pennies on the acre. Shoemakers, farmers, and doctors bought in, believing they were moving to the next great global empire. In late 1822, the first two ships, the Honduras Packet and the Kennersley Castle, set sail from Scotland. On board were 250 hopeful settlers, clutching their official Poyasian land deeds. It took them 2 months to cross the Atlantic. In January 1823, the ships dropped anchor off the coast of the Black River in Honduras. The passengers rushed to the deck, eager to see the grand capital city of St. Joseph, the paved roads, and the bustling ports MacGregor had promised them. Instead, they saw nothing. There were no docks, no buildings, no roads. There was only a blank, unforgiving, impenetrable jungle. Initially, the settlers were just confused. They assumed they had simply landed on the wrong beach. They set up temporary tents, believing MacGregor's officials would arrive any day to guide them to the city. But days turned into weeks. Then, the tropical storms hit. Their tents were shredded. Their provisions began to rot. To make matters worse, the captain of one of the ships realized the situation was hopeless, panicked, and sailed away, taking most of their remaining food with him. They were stranded in a literal wilderness. They tried to hunt, but they didn't know the land. They tried to use their Poyasian money to buy food from local indigenous tribes, but the tribes looked at the paper bills like they were insane. Then came the real killer, malaria and yellow fever. With no medicine and no shelter, the camp devolved into horror. Out of the 250 settlers who left Scotland with dreams of gold, over 130 died of disease and starvation. The survivors were reduced to eating roots and drinking contaminated water, waiting to die. In May 1823, a passing British merchant ship accidentally spotted the survivors. Horrified, the crew rescued the emaciated Scots and brought them to Belize. When the British authorities heard their story, they were stunned. They immediately sent official word back to London. Poyais is a myth. The country does not exist. When the news hit England, it triggered an absolute panic. The public wanted MacGregor's head on a spike. So what did the world's greatest con man do? Did he run? Did he apologize? No. He packed his bags, hopped across the English Channel, and moved to Paris. And this is where the story gets completely unbelievable. MacGregor realized the French public hadn't read the British newspapers. So he set up a new Poyais office in Paris and started doing the exact same thing again. He actually convinced a company of French investors to buy land and had a ship full of French settlers ready to sail. The only reason it stopped is because the French government became suspicious of why so many people were requesting passports to a country no one had heard of. They arrested MacGregor. You're probably expecting justice here. You're expecting him to spend his life in a dark dungeon. But MacGregor was a master manipulator. He blamed his associates, hired the best lawyers with the money he stole, and was completely acquitted of all major charges. In 1838, an aging Gregor MacGregor moved to Venezuela. Because of his actual legitimate military service decades prior, the Venezuelan government welcomed him back as a war hero. They gave him a pension, restored his rank of general, and when he died in 1845, he was buried with full military honors in the Caracas Cathedral. The man who invented a country, crashed the London stock market, and caused the deaths of over 100 innocent people, died a wealthy, decorated hero. Gregor McGregor didn't have Photoshop, deepfakes, or social media bots. He used nothing but paper, ink, and supreme, unshakable confidence to build a multi-million-dollar empire out of thin air. It makes you realize that the ultimate vulnerability in human security isn't tech. It's our own desperation to believe a beautiful lie.